But let's just start with the simplicity of what are the signs of burnout? For people listening going, am I burnt out? Am I tired? Am I this? Am I that? How is it, especially for those of us who I just keep drawn to the flame, so we're not being as reflective as we might ought to be. We're caught up in the showbiz hamster wheel. What does burnout look and feel like? What are the signs?
Well, I actually spoke to like a dozen comics about this before I wrote the article, and I like took quotes from, and then I sort of like properly interviewed like 4 and then took quotes from them. But across the board, because I think it is different for everyone, but across the board, the things that I found that were in common in terms of experiencing burnout was just like, you've got the more physical symptoms, like you've got fatigue, brain fog, you keep getting sick, like you just keep being sort of low key unwell, like your immune system's kind of shot to shit. Your sleep is out of whack. Like your diet and movement are out of whack. Like the things that your baseline is just like gone. It's not there anymore. Cognitively, I think it is like you can't focus, you're ruminating a lot, you're anxious, you're very stressed. Like you've been under stress for a prolonged period of time. And I think sometimes the thing with burnout that is tricky is people are like, well, I haven't been doing enough work to be burnt out. I haven't been achieving enough to be burnt out. Like I haven't been,
Get out of my head, Scout.
Dude, like, but like literally, I've literally like said this to my partner in like real time. I've just been like, but I'm not doing enough to be burnt out. And the reason that you're burnt out, even though you don't think you're not doing enough to be burnt out, is that you're already burnt out. Your capacity to work is already diminished. And so you have reached that capacity beyond what you think.
Your ability to see what's relative to you. And
yeah,
because the experience that I have is I will have people like I'll put a post out, like for example, like we're recently celebrating 200 subscribers to the Patreon, which is very exciting.
Congrats.
And people will comment to me sometimes and go, "Oh wow, you're doing so much," and I go, "Really?"
Yeah.
And that's just based on like what I put out into socials. They don't know what else I do. So if they're just looking at what I put out there and they go, "Wow, you do so many things." And I know I do much more beyond those things that I put out. I go, oh, so if they perceive this as a lot, maybe what I really do is a lot.
Yeah. I think it's tricky because a lot of what we do has it's intangible. It's not really quantitative. Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to even get into that. The difference between words. No, I think there's like, if you're like working out at the gym, then you have like targets to hit, you have weights to lift, you have a certain number of reps to do or a certain number of minutes to do on whatever. That doesn't exist in comedy, like, or in any kind of artistic form. You have to just be willing to like log endless hours into a thing that then may never see the light of day. And so you can feel like you're achieving nothing. And also I think sometimes it's like, oh, well, I did that thing, but, and we also, another part of burnout is that you're like, you spiral, you start to get in your own head. You're not able to like properly engage with your life as you normally would. Like you start flaking on mates. You like can't make all your commitments, like work-wise. You start pulling out of gigs. You dread being on stage. You dread writing. Like there's this sense of like dread and foreboding, and you just feel like you're running on empty and running on fumes. But sometimes if you do something and you're like, you minimize it and you're like, well, I didn't really do that. Like it wasn't even that difficult. And even if I did do it, it wasn't that difficult.
What, I can't go across town and do 5 minutes? I should be able to do 5 minutes.
But like even when you do achieve something and you minimize it, the reason that you're minimizing it is that you're like, oh, but that's easy for me. But if you think about it, the reason it's easy for you is that you've put in 6 years work to make it easy. Like writing a song or like doing a QLab Q or something. Like I do that in 10 minutes and I'm like, well, but that was easy. And I'm like, yeah, but 6 years ago, I didn't know how to do literally any of that. So I think that's worth keeping in mind too. But yeah, I think burnout is like so chronic in comedy. And I think people are really happy to just push through until they break. But it's like, okay, you push through, but what's on the other side? If you've got a break lined up and you have like a strategy to come back and rebound from that, then great. But if you don't have a strategy for that, then like you will be in like serious mental shit.
Yeah. Oh, you made it to the finish line, but like those marathon runners, you also shat yourself and you're sweating and oh great, you're here. No one wants to hug you because you're covered in shit. Yeah.
At what cost?
At what cost is a great phrase.
And also at what cost to like the people around you, because I feel like a lot of comics are held up by the people around them, like partners, mates, parents. if you're constantly putting yourself in a cycle where you actually, deep down in your gut that A, this is not working professionally or creatively, and B, I'm so spent that I'm now like a husk of a human. Like, who's picking up the pieces? And that was something else that I thought about when I decided not to do my show this year, because I was like, I could do the show, I could push through, I could just like try and like redline my way through it. But ultimately, it would not just have an impact on me. It would probably have a massive impact on the people I love.